Hey Gemini, describe to me the typical Honda Civic buyer in Malaysia.
Alright, so Honda Civics are pretty popular in Malaysia, and the typical buyer is usually someone who wants a reliable and stylish car. They might be young professionals, or even families who need a car for getting around the city. Would you like to know more about the different Civic models available in Malaysia?
No, I'm good. Anyway guys, is that you? The Honda Civic needs no introduction, right? Everyone loves it. People are so obsessed with this car and this badge that they'll actually go to the attempt of buying one, even though they know they can't really afford it comfortably. Because you gotta get the girl, right? In this day and age, you don't even need Riz anymore, but you better pull up in a Honda. And of course, they would want the RS, sporty, masculine, and the first mod that they would want to do is to replace the stock badge with a red one. Biasa lah kan? Well, there's a newer one, a newer FE, and there's two questions now on my mind now that the honeymoon phase of the FE is like behind us already. Is this car still worth obsessing over, and has anyone managed to catch up to it yet? Of course, yes, it is newer, meaning it's got more things to brag about. But if someone isn't into cars or Hondas, I'm sure they might not even realize that this isn't the same FE launched back in 2022. There are two words that define this newness, okay? Actually, three words: Facelift and Google. Honda have definitely optimized the pricing. The range kicks off as before with the 1.5e, which is 2,000 ringgit more expensive, but does have more standard tech and standard active safety. The 1.5V is exactly unchanged at 145k, while the 1.5 RS might be the value pick, value in air quotes, with its price reduction of 2,000 ringgit over the pre-facelift. Finally, we get the HEV RS, which is also completely static price-wise at 168,000 ringgit, but it does get the most goodies and the most visual upgrades. Do you guys love the way the FE looks from the back? Well, you'll love this one too, because from what I can tell, there is no change, unless you guys got better eyes than I do. Slightly sloping, roof line, a little bit coupe-like. You have a mild lip spoiler at the boot over here for a nice ducktail effect, nice contrasting black color as well. Of course, you have the blue glow H logo over there denoting the hybrid powertrain. But in my opinion, this EHEV badge just kind of messes up the clean look at the rear. Another way you can tell that this is the hybrid is the single exhaust exit, where the ones with the VTEC turbo gets dual exhaust exits. While I'm here, the boot, 497 liters, and that's with the seats up. Plus you get the space saver spare wheel, which is a pretty rare thing, especially in hybrids. But the big change is at the front. Well, relatively big, because Honda takes the term facelift in this case quite literally. So you have a new front bumper design for a slightly meaner look, but at the expense of front fog lamps, which used to be around here. You see, the EHEV RS is the most distinguishable of the bunch because of these wheels over here, and it's too bad that the VTEC Turbo RS doesn't get these at all, only the top end EHEV. The thing is, the internet is quite divided about these actual wheels, but I prefer them over the previous EHEV RS wheels, which I thought was a bit too busy. This one, this gunmetal finish, really does give it a more classically sporty look, and they are actually legitimate light alloy aluminium wheels, as denoted by this logo over here, JWL, Japan Light Alloy Wheel. So, extra legit, complemented by the Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires, also extra legit. But yeah, those are all the changes on the outside, every single one. If you guys spot something I miss, because I'm a dum-dum, comment below. The powertrains are unchanged too. The VTEC Turbo kicks out 182 PS and 240 Newton meters hooked up to a CVT to the front wheels, while the EHEV RS, as before, not only ups power output slightly to 184 PS and substantially with torque to 315 Newton meters, but it is the way it delivers that torque and power that is otherworldly. This unturbocharged 2-liter Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder engine actually is used mostly as a generator, leaving the electric traction motor with the job of actually spinning the wheels. Like an EV, it is very responsive and super linear. And like an EV in all other respects, it almost doesn't follow the rules of normal fuel consumption. I've been averaging 4.3 liters per 100 kilometers, or 23 kilometers per liter. So if you haven't heard us raving yet about the IMMD EHEV system in the Honda, there it is again. Legitimately all the pros of an EV and the flexibility of a combustion engine. Anyway, if you're wondering why I asked my phone and not the car, this is why. Hey Google, describe to me the typical Honda Civic buyer in Malaysia.
Sorry, I don't understand.
That's why. Objectively speaking, I do still love the Civic interior because it's very simple, okay? It is modern, it is sporty, it is slightly driver focused. It's also very comfortable and very refined inside. In terms of the materials, you get soft touch material everywhere on the dashboard. You do get also this nice dark red accents kind of strewn about. Same thing with the accents on the seats and the steering wheel and the gear selector, which really does match this red color of this particular car. So if you are getting, you know, the Civic, get it in red, because I think this is the canonical default option. This is the lore accurate Civic RS. I like the fact that you have a mix of materials. You have leather on the side, you have this kind of like microfiber grippy material like a sports car should, even perforated. Although I do wish you would have vented seats, but I guess you can have everything. Very sturdy construction everywhere in this car. It's very cohesive with the exterior design as well. I think Honda has done a really good job. And honestly, it's no surprise because we've been very impressed with the Honda Civic interior since it was launched. So probably the biggest update to come with this 2025 Honda Civic upgrade is the infotainment stuff, which is across the range made standard with Google built in, which means also this 9-inch screen, infotainment screen, is built into everything in the range, from the E to this, the RS, HEV. So the software itself, which is already built on Google in the first place, now has access to the Play Store and native app installs. Well, if you want, there is built in now wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, which is a big upgrade, a welcome one from the previous wired connections. But the thing is, now my phone can just chill out because all the things that I would want it to do anyway in the car, like maps and navigation and all the phone functionality, technically, or most of it, this can do by itself on its own without the need for my phone to be connected whatsoever. So from the start, I do have Google Play Store, right? So I do have also pre-installed over here Google Assistant and Google Maps. But I couldn't install Spotify, I couldn't install Waze. But for all of those things to happen, I gotta be online. And when I say online, I gotta use my phone. Actually, my phone can't really chill because it has to do the mobile data personal hotspot thing. Maybe I don't wanna bother with all that. Maybe I just wanna connect to CarPlay, it's easier. But this infotainment system, something's a bit wonky with this. Maybe it's just this personal one, my personal phone, but it doesn't auto connect to Bluetooth either. I gotta go, and by the way, every time I go into this car and Bluetooth isn't connected, I make it a point to go into the manage device connections, set my phone as a priority device. And I've done this every single time I've gotten to this car. It never remembers. But maybe, you know what, I don't want to bother with Bluetooth at all. I'll just use my trusty cable, USB-C, right here in the front, convenient. Plug it in, and then I could use CarPlay. But if you are coming back to the car after a while, you do have to kind of like faff around with the permissions and granted location access, and then you can use it. And when you do use it, for some reason, it always forgets what volume you're at. So it resets the volume to like level 1. So you play your music, your podcast or whatever, you can't hear anything until you do that. The reason why I suspect that the 2K extra is glonged on to the base variant is because you do get the 9-inch infotainment screen as standard, you know, you get the Google built-in as standard, and you get Honda Sensing now as standard. But if you were expecting Honda to, I don't know, plug in the gaps, the feature gaps in Honda Sensing that we've been complaining about for years, I think you'll be disappointed because rear cross traffic alert and blind spot monitoring are still very glaring omissions. In a time when a lot of other cars just have blind spot monitoring as a given. It's one of the most basic, you know, active safety features, and it's really, really useful. The thing is, what they've been giving us instead as an alternative, lane watch, is just not good enough, especially now in 2025. First of all, it's still only on one side because Honda still doesn't understand that, well, we also change lanes going to the right, not just the left. And I would argue going to the right is actually more dangerous potentially because you'll be merging onto a faster lane when a car in your blind spot will potentially crash into you. If I'm changing lanes onto the left, I most likely am overtaking someone on the right lane and then merging into the left, which means I have a very good sense of where they are and what's behind me now. And the thing is, I've been driving a lot of cars these days that do the lane watch thing and actually put a camera on either side of the wing mirror. and they do a better job. The camera quality in here is just not good enough. It's way too pixelated. The quality is just, I don't know, man. It's like a VGA camera from back in the day. It's really not sharp at all. It's very just mucky. It just gives you a very rough sense of what's in your blind spot on only one side, where like the Kia Sportage, very clear camera. It actually projects onto the speedometer digitally over here, depending on which side you indicate. Same with the Xpeng G6. And the thing is as well, with Lane Watch, it covers up your entire screen. So let's say you're navigating through a very busy street with a lot of little lanes here and there. You indicate and suddenly you lose all of your navigation and you have no idea. You can be very disorienting to figure out which lane you have to turn into. And the same applies for the reversing camera. There's a car behind me right now, very close, and I can't make out. I know it's a Proto Saga, but I can't really figure that out from looking at the screen alone. And I can't really figure out what the plate number is either. There are trees behind me, all these details in the screen I can't make out because this camera is just, you know what you expect in a car costing 170K to have a 360 cam, and this car just doesn't and continues to not have. Okay, objectively, if you're coming from a car that is maybe not as well specified as the Civic or not as nice feeling, you'll be very, very impressed with the Civic. It has always been a fantastic interior and the execution is really good as well. Do I need to talk about the rear seats in this car? Because obviously Honda is the masters of packaging, meaning that I get a lot of space in the rear. You definitely don't skip on any SUV levels of room inside a Civic because I'm getting honestly these segment levels of space in here. So I'm 165cm, this is where I sit. Look how much legroom I have. Look how much headroom I have. Wow. Even with this slightly sloping roofline, not really compromised whatsoever. You know what? I don't get a sunroof. This cabin could get a little bit dark and claustrophobic, I guess, but honestly I don't really see the practical benefit of having a sunroof besides just adding more complexity and potentially leaks when it rains. But you have though this big hump in the middle over here, which again is a structural part of the car. Still, I would like it to have a little bit more of a flat floor so that, you know, you can seat someone in the middle without them being so uncomfortable for longer journeys. And the seat back is nicely reclined to the point that I can actually just kind of like relax in here and take a nice long nap if I need to. The armrest is nothing really special. It just flops down like this. Not the most quality thing in the world, but the cup holders are functional. They don't really sit very deep. So, you know, if you have like a big bottle like this, unless it's full, it might just slosh around. It's a bit loose. What can I say about the Honda Civic HEV RS that I haven't already said? I don't know, because they haven't really changed anything. The powertrain, everything is the same, technically, mechanically. But always up for a good little sprint to 100. 0 to 100 in 7.9 seconds, over 8.4 seconds in the VTEC Turbo. And go. And 70, 80, 90, 100 right there. 0 to 100 time, that is not especially fast, and it doesn't really feel especially fast like that in that situation from standstill to 100. If you thought the VTEC Turbo 8.4 seconds 0 to 100 was adequate, then this technically is better, even though it feels less involved because, I don't know, I guess the delivery of that electric motor, 184 PS, 315 Newton meters, just feels more subdued, just feels less frenetic. There's less going on. You have the engine note coming from the speakers, but it's really obviously synthetic, and I don't mind that. And I've said that before, I don't mind it. After a few years of having the Civic on our market, what do I really think about it? Now that I've had it, you know, had time to figure it out a little bit more, let it rest and simmer, and the opinion develop into something more mature, I think the Civic is still top of the heap when it comes to just an everyday talented sedan. Okay, this car against its closest rival in Malaysia, the Mazda 3, which I'm sure I've mentioned many times, the Mazda 3 is the better handling of the cars. But there is something to be said about how this thing turns in. And I think that has to do also with, well, the tires. PS4s are not just there for show. This set of tires are actually providing additional sharpness. There is a directness to the initial turn in this car and the initial direction changes in this car that is very sharp and very responsive. Very responsive. You don't get that in the Mazda 3. The Mazda 3 is more of a flowing kind of car. Mid-corner, it does grab on more the front end, gives you more confidence. The car just settles in. I don't care if you have a torsion beam at the rear. This is not as good as a handler, less confidence inspiring through a set of bends than the Mazda. But this, when you are trying to be a little bit agile here and there, it'll give you the confidence to make the direction changes. A very good handler. And this is not even, come on, this is the everyday go to office, go to the supermarket, go to pick up your kids spec of car. I mean, yes, it is RS, but RS in Honda speak means road sailing. Look, Honda quotes 4 liters per 100 km, and I've been averaging 4.3, and that's not really been careful. I've been accelerating hard, I've been braking hard, I've not been keeping this car in econ mode. I've been, just kind of pushing it here and there, not really trying to hypermile, but 4.3 liters per 100 km, that's pretty damn good. So power is good, handling is good, fuel consumption is insanely good, refinement, and that really comes down to those tire and wheel package again, because as good as these PS4s are to deliver that confidence, initial turn in, that sharpness, that little edgy sharpness that you get and that you don't get in the Mazda 3 so much. Maybe if you change them to PS5s, PS4s, you would have that initial bite turn in better than the stock Bridgestone what? Turanza T005A, I think, is the default tire in Malaysia, at least for the Mazda 3. So with this tire package, you do get a sharper turn in, but you sacrifice a little bit of the refinement, because I noticed you get a lot of tire noise, or maybe that's more kind of like pronounced because most of the time this car operates as an EV. You begin to hear the road noise, and there is no engine kind of like to drown that out. You do feel that it's more pronounced, and I think this set of tires does have more, road noise, just more noise in general compared to something like if you would fit a set of Michelin Primacies, definitely. And that brings me to mind of a feature in the CR-V that this car doesn't have, and I think maybe should, which is that noise cancelling, active noise cancelling feature, where it takes the ambient noise, it processes it through the speakers and the microphones, and shoots out counter waves basically to cancel out some noise, just like how ANC works in your AirPods or your whatever noise cancelling headphones. Like right now, I'm not even sure if you can hear it, but I can hear the road noise. I can hear me going over that manhole right there. Just having that much road noise intrude into the interior just kind of like takes away from that perception, I guess, that this car is a truly premium car. And it is a premium car because, it doesn't cost that much more or that much less than a Mazda 3. And the Mazdas have really no shame about, marketing themselves as a premium brand, as a premium car. And this is, same price. It is the same. There's no mechanical changes. There's no little updates to maybe the steering, calibration, steering speed or feel. It's just the Civic EHEV RS. Well, thank goodness it's the same price, because what you really get, what you're really paying for here is maybe the extra flex of having the newest Civic, because you can definitely tell with the wheels, with the EHEV RS, you can tell with the wheels, you can tell with the front ends, a little bit more sporty, a little bit less ikan lohan. The wheels do a lot, I think, to kind of elevate the sportiness factor of this car. The other ones didn't really jive with me that well. It was fine. It's just that I thought the wheels on the petrol RS looked better. And the petrol RS, the wheels are carried over to the facelift. So you can't really tell, unless you're looking at it from the front, whether or not you have the new petrol RS VTEC Turbo or the older one. Still an excellent car to drive, but it's just very familiar at this point. Maybe I need some kind of new stimulus. I can't knock it for that, but we are at the point now where we can expect a new Civic to be emerging maybe in 2 or 3 years. So I guess we'll wait for that. But in terms of this car, in this market, it is still the biggest fish in the small pond.
It's still an awesome car. It's still an aspirational object. But at least in my opinion, this facelift, it hasn't done enough yet to keep the crown as a car.
Now though, with newer cars,
especially the ones from China that really just shower us and spoil us with all these new on-paper features, it becomes harder and harder to justify why the Civic is lacking certain things. Like, why is there no blind spot monitoring after years and years of us making noise about that? Why no 360 cam? Why does other brands do a better job of lane watch and what lane watch does and what lane watch is supposed to solve without calling it lane watch? Why any of this in a car costing 170,000 ringgit? The Google built-in features are a nice touch right now and potentially game-changing, but I wish it was a little bit more polished. Maybe give it a few months, maybe a year, for all the bugs to be kind of like ironed out, and then it would be just perfect. I wish though that they would give me the option of just slotting in like a cheap prepaid SIM card, at least something besides just forcing me to tether my phone via Wi-Fi hotspot all the time. Honestly though, I do think that tighter integration and native app installs are really the way forward for infotainment systems, because right now car screens are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's mostly still just wasted space and processing power. So the Civic overall, still excellent, but room for improvement. This is the most expensive Civic, and right now in 2025, it just falls shy of a flagship experience.